the lack of sleep can also inhibit so many health things within our body. Our body relies on that rest and repair and recovery mode. It's really important to know what sleep deprivation actually does, not just to your energy levels, but to your body. Just see what's actually pushing your stress levels up and maybe take a step back because your health is so important. Okay, we're going to need a cup of coffee or drink of choice for this one because I need you to be wide awake and absorbing everything that we're going to be talking about today. Hello and welcome. My name is Danielle. I'm a personal trainer and online fitness coach, and I work with women over the ages of 35 who are reclaiming their strength, heading back into fitness, or starting fitness for the very first time. Welcome. Now, the reason why I need you to be wide awake today is because we are talking about sleep. That's right. So you could be on two sides of the scale here when it comes to sleep. You could be getting a lot of sleep, plenty of sleep, and you're still waking up feeling tired and feeling like you actually didn't get some really good quality sleep in. But hey, you did the 7 and 8 hours. Why is this making me feel more tired when I get up? Or you could be that person who is running on empty, doing the 4 to 6 hours of sleep and, going to bed late and things like that. And you are not getting that good quality sleep or waking up constantly during the night for a multitude of reasons. And we are going to be talking about both sides of that today. So settle on in. Before we head into the details here, I want to give some real tough love. And I think that a lot of you might need to hear this, and it's coming from clients. It's coming from the people that I talk to. And I do believe that some of us are not taking our sleep and our focus on sleep seriously enough. You are possibly thinking that, yes, you know that your sleep is not enough, that 4 to 6 hours, it's not enough, but you're not taking that seriously and just going, it is what it is, and I have to deal with it, and I can't do anything about it. And I just think you need to take a big step back and reevaluate what you're saying and what you're thinking and how you're approaching your sleep, because this, I'm sorry, is not acceptable. It is a non-negotiable that you should be focusing in on your sleep. And I've mentioned this a few times in some of the other podcasts, but now we're going to have a big reality check today because more and more studies are coming out at the moment of how a reduced amount of sleep, especially in just a week or a few days, is affecting our bodies and our overall health and our longevity, and we're not taking it seriously enough, all right? We're complaining about the sleep. We're complaining about not getting enough. But when I do ask people, what are you doing about it? What action are you taking? And then I'm asking them, are you on your devices? Do you have a bedtime? All these things. And they are not taking it seriously. So I am going to be really tough on you right now if you might fall into this category. And it's only because I care. And I think that we just need to take this more seriously and have it as a massive priority. So there are caveats to this as well too. There might be a reason why you're only getting 4 to 6. So we are going to delve into that too, and that might help maybe look into how you can improve your sleep. So I really want this to be a very productive episode today, and I really want to see if we can get something from it and to help you because sleep is what brings it all together and allows us to recover and repair, but also our body to function in a very optimal way that it really needs to function. It helps to reduce brain fog and things like that. So we really need to have a look at this deeply, and that's what we're going to do right now. Okay. We're going to start with some numbers because that can be very helpful here, especially if you fall into the category of you are trying to get that sleep, you're not getting enough of it, you keep waking up and you're not too sure how you can try and get that beautiful good night's sleep and try and stay within that sleep mode for the whole night. Because in all honesty, a lot of the times it's actually not your fault. but we're not knowing what the reason is, and then we're not able to take action because of it. So this is where we're going to begin. So somewhere between 40 and 60% of women are going through perimenopause. And of course, I know this is our hot topic and this is what we talk about the most. But this is the reason why we educate you in these in this podcast as well too, is because there's some information that we just don't know and we're not aware of. But in this case, 40 to 60% of women in perimenopause and menopause are struggling with sleep. So most of us never get proper hours of sleep in. And most of the time we sort of brush it off because we just don't know why. And we just take it, as to it, it is what it is, as I mentioned before. In a study of over 6,000 women in midlife, which is where we are now, every 42 out of 100 was sleeping poorly during perimenopause. Of those women, 1 in 4, now this is really important, 1 in 4 had significant problems with sleep enough to qualify for a clinical diagnosis of insomnia. And the biggest issue wasn't just falling asleep here. It was actually staying asleep. And we are very aware that this is extremely common. Another fact that's really important is that women after perimenopause are 2 to 3 times more likely to have sleep apnea. So let's say this again. Women after menopause are 2 to 3 times likely to have sleep apnea than women who haven't been through it yet. It regularly goes undiagnosed because the symptoms look like menopause. So this could be something that's happening to some of you out there as well too. So let's keep that in mind. Now, most women never ask for help. They assume bad sleep just comes with getting older, comes with perimenopause, comes with menopause, and it is what it is. However, it can go so much more deeper than that. And the lack of sleep can also inhibit so many health things within our body. Our body relies on that rest and repair and recovery mode. So why is this happening? What's actually going on? Let's talk hormones. I'm going to try and keep this simple. All right, so it can be as helpful as possible. But we've mentioned before that our estrogen and progesterone, it fluctuates during perimenopause especially, and it creeps up on us and we're not even aware of it. We will have slight symptoms and we won't even be aware that we're going through this stage of life, but it will fluctuate. Now, sometimes they will be in all different levels and during the day they could change, and you won't even know that they're actually changing. It's hard to say. You cannot predict, where they're going to be sitting in the way of their levels. And when this happens, unfortunately, one of those particular symptoms is that it disrupts our sleep, especially the quality of sleep that we're trying to get. Now, some of the symptoms that we get from perimenopause could be a factor of this. For example, a big one at the moment is hot flashes. You're getting the night sweats and it's waking you up and making you feel very uncomfortable and you're struggling to get back to sleep. So here's something interesting. Research has found that women actually wake up just before a hot flash occurs. So it's not actually the hot flash that's actually waking you up. And to clarify all of this, the brain changes. So the brain changes and that causes that hot flash to happen. Now, just a quick side note on the hot flashes too. If you are having a big issue with that and it's really impacting you greatly, this is where I would definitely recommend to go see your GP. There are so many things out there that can assist when it comes to hot flashes, and it can be a little bit more serious and disruptive than you think. Some of us have different levels of it, so we won't be having it impacting us as much. For example, I actually get them during the day. And a lot of my clients notice that my face goes bright red and I feel like somebody's turned up the heat in the actual room. And that's when I generally get them. I don't tend to get them during sleep, but that's not to say that it won't happen one day. But at the moment, I'm not getting that during the sleep, but I'm getting it during the day, which can be quite disruptive during the day too, especially when you've got a bright red face going on. But yes, I think that you definitely need to look into going to your GP and getting some advice. And, sometimes HRT actually can be a helper when it comes to this. Now, I am not telling you what to do, except for going to your GP if this is causing you a serious problem and it's affecting you and affecting your life. I feel like that some things do need to get assessed properly, and that would be my advice to do, is to go see your GP and have a serious discussion in regards to anything that's worrying you when it comes to where you're at right now with the perimenopause or even menopause. The other thing that could break your sleep is the racing thoughts. And that is actually, again, another symptom of perimenopause and menopause, just so much going through the head, and also stuff that's really insignificant and doesn't need to be there. Unfortunately, we dwell on it and we make it a problem, and we manifest it more and more the more that we think about it and we dwell on it. And actually, that's something we can definitely struggle with. So this can create a really poor sleep for us, but it also can affect our mood as well. So we do have a few things that can disrupt our sleep that we do need to sort of be quite aware of. Now, the good news, okay? Sleep problems usually tend to be more problematic during perimenopause rather than menopause and postmenopause. That's not to say that it's not going to happen, but we do tend to have more of an issue during that particular time. And when we start to understand what's happening, whether we go to our GP or not, then we can start to work on solutions for this as well. Next, I want to talk about what's actually doing to our body and how it's affecting our body with this lack of sleep. It's really important to know what sleep deprivation actually does, not just to your energy levels, but to your body. Because when you start to understand this, I'm hoping that you're actually going to start to see the seriousness of this particular topic and this particular issue that a lot of us will go through. There's a body of research. It was a controlled lab study on healthy adults where sleep was restricted. Now, it was restricted to about 6 hours, and they did this for 1 week, so 7 days. And what happened was quite alarming. Now, I'm going to be really clear on this one because this is a new study that was actually put out just recently. But I want you to really dig deep and think, if this is what the result of what can happen with a male, kind of get an idea of how it might affect women, especially during perimenopause, if we do have that lack of sleep. Now, we're just going to stop and talk about cortisol for just a second, because we talk about cortisol in a very negative way sometimes, and I can probably, unfortunately, that may come across in some of the information that I've given as well too, but cortisol is not a bad thing, all right? Cortisol is so important. It's a great regulator in our body. It actually regulates, our different levels of our stress. It controls and helps us during the stress situation. So what happens is that we do have the cortisol, and then it tends to level out to a nice level and puts us in a beautiful rest and repair mode. But we also have that fight and flight mode. So we have two different levels of wear, but the cortisol has a big job to do, and unfortunately sometimes we can raise our cortisol too high, which can impact our body. So just be aware that cortisol is such an important part of our body, and it regulates us in a few different ways. That's really important. Okay, and making sure that we have a nice flow of cortisol and a level of cortisol in our body is really important. Okay, but we are going to have moments of up and down. Okay, and that's pretty normal. However, what can happen is that the cortisol can be pushed a little further than it should, all right, be a bit higher than it should. So what happened with the cortisol is it raised by 51% when the sleep was cut short. A couple of things that cortisol can do when it's too high is it can break down the muscle and it can store fat, especially around our belly, because that's where we're holding it at the moment, which is really important to be aware of. That's quite natural, but it can actually hold it there. So sometimes when we're holding on to some belly fat, sleep could be part of why we cannot budget. And I say part. When we're not getting enough sleep, another thing that can happen is our hunger hormones. They can get completely thrown off. We have a couple of hormones in our body that tell us when we're hungry and tell us when we're full. And unfortunately, these can be disrupted. So the hormone that tells you that you're full can unfortunately drop. The hormone that tells you to keep eating and you're hungry goes up. So this is where it's not the lack of willpower to get your food right and to be eating balanced. Sometimes this imbalance of those two hormones can create that hunger, and hence why we might be eating more at certain times. Our blood sugar regulation also gets disrupted. In some people, it can get disrupted enough to look like pre-diabetes. Now, also, because of this study, it's good to understand that this happens in a week. This can happen in a week. Now, again, reiterating that the study was done on men, but think about the impact if this study was done on women. I would love to actually see that. That would be a great study to see, because it would just be phenomenal to find out what those results would be and whether or not we would be more impacted, because in some cases we can be impacted by certain things a lot more than males do. But that would definitely be an interesting study that I think that they should put and invest in, which is disappointing that we don't have a lot of studies. I think I heard that when it comes to studies on women, I think they started to do it around 1993. Can you imagine that? Just sometimes I think, do we even exist? Like I think we're more complex. And so I feel like there's a lot of information that they just really need to start discovering. But it's sad in a way that we have to fight for information and try and find enough information about our health and well-being. And sometimes it's unfortunately off the back of male studies, which doesn't really give us a big scope. So I'm hoping that just at least this information has been a little bit helpful on that particular study. But yes, I would love to absolutely see a study on this for females, but it's very disappointing that, we don't get a big look in. But hopefully in the future, we've got more to come. They are doing a lot more studies, so that is always great to see. So hopefully we can come across more and more as we go along as well. So just to sum that bit up, really, it's not about being tired. This is a little bit more about what's happening within the body due to those hormones and the lack of sleep, of how it can disrupt hormones as well, and also affect your hunger. And there's so many things that we might be struggling with when it comes to the weight loss and the sleep, and how all of that can impact your overall health. Now, we're going to dive into some stuff that actually helps and see how we go. But we have to take this seriously. We have to make this a priority. So I really want you to settle in. And please, I hope you're still awake with me. I hope you're still sipping on that coffee and trying to keep yourself awake through this one, because I feel like it's a really important topic. And hopefully we haven't waffled on too much, but hopefully we've got some facts and some information out to you as well too, that's been very helpful. But let's go into what actually helps. One more sip. Okay, so what do we do about it? So there's so much more to it than just me probably telling you to wind down. And I actually have, a few tips that I do try and get my clients to do one step at a time, right? But some of this is very helpful, but obviously there's more to it than just winding down, not using your device before you go to bed. Let's just delve into some little things that we can sort of play around with. So we've talked about how we want to make ourselves accountable when it comes to our workouts and our nutrition, and our sleep should be at the top of that list too, as a non-negotiable. It's part of that new lifestyle, that new change that you're trying to create for yourself, and we cannot make those changes and build a better foundation of a body if we don't have sleep at the top of the list. One way of looking at possibly getting a little bit better sleep is actually looking at the temperature of your room. Now, this is not something that everybody can possibly do. Some of us can make sure that the temperature of the room is at a certain degree, but just bear with me on this one. But having the room at a cool 18 degrees is usually the most ideal kind of temperature to be going to sleep at. They've found that it can be helpful to reduce the disruption of the hot flashes. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to work for everybody, but it could be something that you could address and try. And when I say try, some of these things that we're going to go through, you do actually have to stick with them for a while. You just can't try them for a couple of days and expect a miracle to happen. You actually have to make some effort and try and adjust the body to its previous habit of where it's sitting at right now. We need to change the way our body actually reacts to some of these changes. So change number one, we could possibly look at the temperature of the room. 18 degrees is usually, or is seen as an ideal sort of temperature to be going to sleep at. Consistency when you wake up. This one can be a bit more powerful than you think. Your wake up times anchors your circadian rhythm. So what is your circadian rhythm? You probably heard this thrown around a few times, but it's basically that 24-hour clock that your body has. It's managed by your brain and it regulates your sleep cycles. Hormones are released and temperature in regards to that light and dark cycle, so the day versus night. Now, when this rhythm or this flow of this wake up and go to sleep is disrupted, it can cause fatigue, insomnia, and long-term health issues. Now, even if you had a rough sleep and got up at the same time as you normally would, your body would regulate around that. So wake-up time is one thing to set, a regular wake-up time. Here's an interesting one for you. Protein before bed. This one actually surprises people a little bit. So having protein in the evening, and it doesn't have to be a big meal, just something substantial, it can help stabilize the blood sugar levels in the body overnight. So one of the reasons why women are waking up 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning is your cortisol might be spiking and the body uses this to manage dropping blood sugar. Protein before bed can help reduce this. Stay tuned though, when it comes to protein, we are going to be talking about this in our next episode, so we'll have more information on that as well. Next one is when you're training. Heavy training late at night could be disrupting your sleep. If you are training after 7 p.m. and you do have disrupted sleep, this is something that I would probably consider changing. I know it might be hard for some people, but just think about it. Just think about how it might be actually not allowing you to have that proper night's sleep. Some people might be the opposite. But it could be something that's impacting you, is doing that workout so late and then not being able to wind down properly. Last but not least, address your stress. We don't want to get you in a chronic health state, right? We want to make sure that that beautiful cortisol that's in your body that's doing its job is doing its job well, all right? And we're not pushing it to its limit and we're not pushing it above where it should be. Now, I'm not talking about, yoga or anything like that, but that can be helpful, right? But that's not what we're talking about here. There's so many things that could be impacting on your stress levels, and that could be work, that could be home, that could be managing the family, life. There's so many things that we take on that actually impact our bodies and our stress. And we feel like that we're responsible when we should be taking on this load. And we know it's stressing us out and we're still taking it on. That's something I definitely feel like people need to maybe look at and evaluate. If something is impacting your health and stressing you out, it needs to be addressed. And I know that that can be hard, especially if you're a parent and you're running a household. When do you stop putting yourself last? And when do you stop putting everyone else first? Why do they have to be more of a priority than you do? Because, I know that a lot of you women out there are actually the ones that do run the households and everything. But I feel like something's got to give. Sometimes there's a bit of teamwork and involved. And look, are probably not the one that, is suited to give you that particular advice. But all I want to say is just have a look at it. Just see what's actually pushing your stress levels up, and maybe take a step back, because your health is so important. And if you don't take that seriously, then nobody else will. So there's things that you do need to look at doing, and that's like having structured downtime, going for walks, taking time for yourself alone, no one else. It's not a luxury to do this, right? It's not a cop-out to do this. It's not lazy to do this, It's not you neglecting everybody else, because in reality, you're neglecting yourself. And that's the worst thing you could possibly do. You need a recovery strategy. So I want you to think about stress release, whatever it might be for you, whatever it might look like for you, as part of your schedule plan. Your workouts, your food prep, the schedule that you keep with your family is still very important up there, but you need to be in there somewhere as well too. And I'm not saying that I don't think that workouts is you having you time, because we know that the workouts are a non-negotiable, and that is not where look, it is you time, don't get me wrong, totally is, but that's not what we're talking about. That does not change, and that does not take over you time. You time is separate. Stress release and recovery is separate. So as you can see, with all of that information that I've just given you, it's a lot to take in, but the thing that I just want you to understand overall is that yes, the lack of sleep can be environmental, and it could be the routine that we're giving ourselves is not working, and it's not effective, and it's not healthy for us, okay? Because long term, our body is not going to be a healthy one in so many ways. All right, we're not going to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. We're not going to be able to lose that weight. We're not going to be able to gain that muscle and gain that strength. We're not going to, all of this work that we're doing in the gym and all of this stuff that we've sort of put together with our nutrition, it needs the whole package of sleep on top of that to make it so ideal and to get us some really good progress. So really, I think that we all need to have a look at how we do our sleep, me included, and see how that impacts us overall, and look at our environment. Yes, still look at the devices before bed, please. Play around with that for a while and try and keep devices and everything away, or even switch them off an hour before you go to bed, or stay away from anything like telly or devices or your tablets and scrolling on the social media and everything an hour before you go to bed. One of my clients, he was doing putting puzzle together with his wife, and I thought that was a great downtime one, as long as you're not stressing over certain things when it comes to that. But that was a really good way of him choosing to slow down his night instead of being on his device and looking at his emails, which I was very proud of him for that. But there's a few things, a cup of tea, like even a herbal tea, which goes to your hydration, but also can calm you down. I like 2 different types of tea, the chamomile tea for actual calming and settling me down for a good sleep, and peppermint if you are feeling a little bit, funny in the tummy or a bit full from dinner. Peppermint tea can be really good for the tummy. So there's a couple of things maybe that you could do here to change your routine and make sure you have a decent bedtime. So that decent bedtime, we talked about waking up, but that decent bedtime is also another one we could probably add to the list of making sure you're going to bed at a decent hour as well, so you can make sure that you are getting that good amount of sleep. Now, if you know you're going to be waking up early because you've got some errands you need to run, you need to take somebody to the airport, you need to make sure that you're getting to bed earlier than you normally would, and you've got to make that a priority as well too. So you are balancing things out as well too when those sorts of situations arise as well too. We also talked about, if those hormone issues such as hot flashes and everything are disrupting our sleep in a very big way that we need to also have these discussions with our GP too. So, the people that actually are struggling, and I think it's most of us anyway, with the hormones shifting and disrupting so many different things, the stress, the cluttered mind, the overactive mind, and all of those things that are stopping us from getting a good night's sleep. We do also have to take those quite seriously, but that doesn't mean that some of these lists of things that we've given you to do won't help, because they could actually start to help with that process as well too. I'd be interested to know if there's anything that you have, any tips that you have as well too, that might be helpful to our audience here of how you manage to get a decent good night's sleep. If there's a certain routine that you have or something that you might suggest, I would love to hear it in the comments down below. So definitely, share your tips with us all as well too. Absolutely love to see what you're all doing to try and get that great good night's sleep. So if you haven't actually taken the sleep topic seriously yet, I'm hoping that this is your moment. This is where you are going to go, okay, this is something that I've got to jump in on and really take seriously and really prioritize. I hope the information has been helpful. If you find that this information would be helpful for somebody else too, or if you feel like we've missed something here as well too, because there is so much to cover here, I would love to also hear from you as well too, because there is probably a lot more that, is out there. We've just kept it pretty simple for today to see if we can't sort of help you out a little bit to get you started in actually prioritizing it and taking this sleep seriously. But also, if you feel like this actually would resonate with somebody, please do definitely share this podcast with them. And I'd love you to tell me how you've gone as well too. So maybe in a few weeks' time or a month's time, you might let us know if anything that you've started to implement or any changes you've started to implement has helped you at all, or is there any way that we could sort of find out some more information for you and help you further in the future. So thank you for sticking with us. I hope you stayed awake through this episode. Don't forget to give us a follow if you can. And also, if you can give us a rating, that would be awesome too. We also love your feedback. I really do want to know what topics you would love for me to cover in the future. I am taking as many requests as possible because, again, as I say, this is all about you guys. This is the information that we need to be sharing with all of you to help you through your change in lifestyle and to make everything that you're doing as successful as possible. So until we see each other next time, thank you for joining me, and don't forget to keep reclaiming your strength.